SudoSwap. Give me your thoughts. Is this a good thing for the NFT space? And yeah, 0% royalties. I want to get your take.
Yeah, definitely. I think in the long term, it will be a good thing. I think it empowers NFT holders and gives them more utility with their NFTs, especially um, those NFT collections that are lesser known and cheaper priced. Those that like you could go in and sweep the floor for less than one ETH. Um, we could certainly get into how they work, but as far as kind of the royalty piece goes, this has been a question that has come up for many months now on how this scales. One thing I've talked about previously is that a 7.5% fee on selling what you would consider a token is pretty absurd when you compare it to regular tokens like a Bitcoin or an ETH, right? Like some of the worst offenders in like a Coinbase or something like that are charging generally less than 1% fees on what you're trading. So when you deal with, say, a 5% royalty and a 2.5% OpenSea fee, you're paying 750 basis points, which is like for most markets is pretty absurd, right? And obviously there are benefits there because you have 5% going to the teams, right? And that will obviously empower the teams to deliver more value to the NFTs. But what it ends up doing is it kind of slowly degrades the purchasing power of NFT holders. A lot of people have been reminded of Yuga's other side launch, right? And all the ETH that got burned there. And people have kind of been saying on Twitter, like, oh man, what would have happened if that, all that ETH could be returned to holders, right? So I think long term it will be,
wasn't it? It was more of a gas issue than a royalty issue. The other side piece.
It was a gas issue, but my point is that was still ETH going from NFT market participants' wallets to somewhere that isn't their wallet, right? So like you can see over time that as these fees, especially if you're flipping NFTs, right? Like every time you're paying 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5% at the highs on some of these, that adds up after a while, unless you're making 30, 40, 50%, 20% every time you flip this NFT. So if you're flipping NFTs and you take a loss, you didn't just lose 25%, right? Like you lost 25% plus the 7.5% that you've got to pay on top of that as well. So I think it's just natural that as the NFT market, right, like talking specifically to NFTs as a market, as that evolves and as that scales, fees will go down. It's just the way that markets work, right? People come in, they're well funded, they're able to charge less fees, or they've got some unique model like Sudo, where the fees aren't as important, or they'll charge less fees to kind of bring users over at first, right, and kind of build this user base. On your point of the royalty fees, right, and how you reward teams, I mean, I'm going to kind of like take the counter argument here a little bit. I've been thinking about this and say that I think it is good in the long run for NFTs because it disincentivizes your shittier, more pump and dump teams who want to just come in and mint and reveal and release a roadmap where they either have no intentions of following that roadmap or they don't knowingly or unknowingly have the resources to execute that roadmap. If they're not getting paid any fees, they don't have any incentive to come in and kind of pitch you something as an NFT trader or investor that is kind of a tough trade or investment for you from the onset, right? So I think it changes the landscape a little bit to make it a little bit more difficult for teams to just kind of run in and grab money and leave. So they're going to need to go out and raise funds and like sell and create a real brand and build a real community and do the things that you want to see for NFTs to kind of continue long term versus just a lot of the flipping and pump and dump and all that.
Yo, it's Nifty Q. I hope you enjoyed that short clip from my interview. Each week, I'm sitting down with some of the best founders in the industry to help you on your journey in NFTs and Web3. All the links to the podcast are in the description. Hope to see you there.